The most essential thing that every Minecrafter will ever do the moment they hop on a single player world is build a house. And this is the build that everyone would probably start making if you guys have no idea how to build a house. But that's alright, because this could actually be improved. So even though this house may look basic, this is the foundation for a good house. We'll keep it as a square to show you that not every bad looking build would actually stay bad looking even if it's a square. I mean, the inside is basically the necessary build and you can just build underground and expand from there. But mostly if you want to have a nice looking exterior, first things first is you need to add depth, and depth is what makes builds look nice. So doing this adds depth into the build. These walls are flat, but at least the door makes it look nice. The next thing that we are going to do is mostly get rid of this because it looks kind of ugly, and we're not going to use slabs because who the heck's going to ever use slabs in this video. But we're going to remove the roof, so now it's a bare roof. And the next thing I normally do is I raise these up by 1, and I add these wooden frames, which makes them look really nice. So as you can see, these wooden frames look really good, and it makes it look a little bit better. Next thing I would add is more depth. So I'm gonna delete this one block and place an upside down staircase. As you can see, it creates this more depth looking to the door. So it looks really nice and pretty simple, to be honest. Next thing we can do to improve the house is mostly add a roof, and instead of slabs we're just going to be using stairs. So there's this one stair design that I always use, which is basically having only the exterior being wood and the interior being whatever you want. So but mostly you have to just think about this is just upgrading the oak and cobblestone build, because this is what normally you would see. And here at the end we can just put an upside down staircase for more depth, and we can do it on the other side as well, and here. And this is the part where we then use logs, because logs do look nice, and you could use, actually the top doesn't really matter, but logs would be nice just because you're not gonna see this anyway, and it makes a nice interior design as well. And now what we're gonna do is just cover up these, just make it look nice, cover it up with cobblestone because that's what you made the walls out of. And we're gonna do this, so it makes that. And to prevent mobs from spawning in the roof, you put slabs, because mobs cannot spawn on the top of slabs. So this is exactly it. So this is what you have. Next thing I would do is again put the interior as a cobblestone, which makes it look really nice. As you can see, it makes the build look more fancy. And this is just a simple house, and then that's mostly the roof. As you can see, it looks way better. The next thing you're gonna need are windows. Normally people would use glass and they just do this and it would look really flat, to be honest, and and we don't want it to be flat. We do want to have depth, and depth is really important. So with the windows you could go crazy on this, but normally if you want to be really basic, you could just replace windows with glass and it gives that nice depth. If you want to add more depth, you can add stairs in the bottom and the top to have this nice look, and you could do that on all 4 sides. I mean 3 sides, to be honest, not really 4. And it gives that nice depth as well. Then to add more depth to the walls, you can then just replace most of these and make them stairs, and replace these with panes. It would look nice, and you can do that to the other sides as well. As you can see, the house looks a little bit more nicer from the outside. You can clearly see that there's more depth into it. So yeah, now the windows look pretty good. And if you take a look at the inside, it looks way more cozier, and you do have a nice view on the outside of your house. The next thing we can do is make a nice exterior. And the exterior is, it could be up to you. Mostly some people like to add some leaves over here and leaves outside their window, which does make the house look way more better. And then we'd add trapdoors depending on what kind of trapdoor you like, so it does look like a pot's holding them. Again, giving the house more depth makes it look way more better. And if you don't like the look of leaves because it looks bland, you could either replace them with moss, and then you could put some flowers on it, or you could just put flowering azalea leaves, which you can find in the lush biome. And since these look really nice, we're gonna use this. to make it look like there's flowers in the bush. And for a nice little detail, if you want to put something in front of your house, you can put a flower pot, a dead bush, and flowering azalea leaves on top of it to make it look like a tiny plant. So we can do that, again creating more depth, because the more depth you have in a house, the more nicer it looks. I learned that from Grian. Next we have lighting. Basically, the torches are technically enough to provide light for mobs not to spawn, but aesthetic wise it kind of looks ugly. So mostly I would replace the torches with lanterns. So I would hang the lanterns on the roof. Or does look really nice, but if it's too expensive, all you can do is just put one right in the middle and it would basically light up the whole thing, and it's a nice looking lantern up there. So yeah. Alright, so in the house mostly we do need a bit more depth, so what we're going to do is actually break these blocks, which kind of disregards the fact that we had to place those in the beginning to make the roof, but we're gonna replace those with stairs, and it does make the build look a bit more nice. As you can see, it gives it more depth, so it makes the house more beautiful to look at. So yeah. Another thing we can do with lighting is mostly we could hang lanterns on the corner of the house, just so it could give this nice, it gives more depth again, and also it does make the house a little bit more prettier, and it also shines the outside of the house. Last but not least, to add a little bit of more depth on the outside, you can put carpet on the front, just so it's like a welcome carpet, and that concludes the build. So this is how you improve your box house into a decent looking house for your Minecraft single player world. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, subscribe.